So the red button versus the blue button. If you haven't seen this, this is a very interesting moral dilemma that has popped up and is quite interesting. Now, if you don't know the rules to it, basically this is how it goes. If over 50% of the population pushes the blue button, every single person lives, right? Okay. Now, if over 50% of the population pushes the red button, all of the blue buttons die. However, if you push the red button, you are guaranteed to live. Now, this is very interesting because according to game theory, everybody should push red. It makes no sense whatsoever for anybody to push blue. If every single person pushes red, then literally you live and so does everybody else, and nobody on the blue side would have to die because nobody would push it. However, there is one key aspect to this whole game that usually gets left out in videos, but it's kind of what has to be done in order to see the moral efficacy of why somebody would push the blue button. And the rule that kind of pushes people away from the red button to the blue button is you don't know what anybody else pushed. Now, you can still argue the fact that it makes total sense to push the red button. You survive, and if everybody pushes it, everybody lives. It makes no sense whatsoever for anybody to push the blue button. I get that. However, without having the idea of what other people are going to push, you don't know if the people that you very much care about have pushed the blue button. So, with this in mind, it makes total sense for some people to push the blue button, as they don't know if their kids, their mom, their dad, their best friend chose the blue button without overthinking it and going into game theory of why everybody should just push the red button. Now, if I had this choice, I would absolutely push the blue button. However, I thought in my head that the majority of people would push the red button because, self-preservation. However, in most cases, the blue button usually wins because people believe in the greater good of humanity. No matter how bad it is, they still believe that the majority of the population would choose to save everybody over themselves, and in general, they are correct about this, which is very interesting. Anyways, I'm curious on your thoughts on this because there really isn't a right and wrong answer. The red is self-preservation. There is nothing wrong with that. However, without knowing what everybody else is going to do, blue makes more sense. Anyways, I find this little dilemma very interesting, and I just want to bring it up to you all and see what you all thought about it. Okay, have a great day. Bye.